Have you ever wondered why the calmest people in the room often say the least? Why do those who radiate true confidence rarely feel the need to explain themselves? And what if the secret to inner peace wasn't in what you express, but in what you choose to keep private? There's a quiet power in restraint, a strength that doesn't shout but speaks volumes in silence. In today's world where oversharing is almost expected and privacy seems like a forgotten virtue, the ability to hold back to protect what matters has never been more important. The Stoics knew this well. They believed that self-restraint wasn't weakness, but wisdom, that what we choose to reveal can either empower us or expose us. As we age, especially between the ages of 50 and 75, this truth becomes even more profound. Life teaches us often, through painful lessons, that not everything deserves an audience. Some things are better guarded, not because they are shameful, but because they are sacred. Privacy, you see, is not about hiding. It's about control, about maintaining dignity, about preserving your inner peace when the world around you is eager to pry into your soul. In an age where our lives are more visible than ever on social media, in casual conversations, even among friends, learning the art of discretion is not just wise, it's essential. Today we'll uncover 8 powerful things you should never share with anyone. These aren't rules meant to isolate you, but principles drawn from timeless Stoic wisdom. They're here to help you safeguard your mental clarity, protect your reputation, and walk through life with silent, unwavering confidence. This isn't about secrecy, it's about strength, it's about self-respect, it's about knowing when silence says more than any sentence ever could. So the next time you feel the urge to share something personal, pause for a moment and ask yourself, does this serve my well-being? Or am I giving away a piece of my power? Stick with me as we begin this journey into what should remain unsaid, and why that choice could lead to a richer, more resilient life. Let's begin with the first truth: your age. People often say age is just a number, but in reality, it's rarely treated that way. Have you noticed how one of the first things strangers ask is, "How old are you?" It may sound innocent, just a casual icebreaker, but there's something deeper beneath the surface. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Time for the Stoics wasn't something to be flaunted or feared. It was to be honored. Unfortunately, our society sees it differently. We live in a culture obsessed with youth. As we grow older, our age slowly transforms from a simple fact into a label. People begin to define us by it, assigning assumptions, limitations, even subtle judgments. Why should you keep your age private? Because once it's known, it shapes how others interact with you. Some might start offering unsolicited advice. Others may unconsciously see you as less capable, even if they don't mean to. And in worst cases, they may begin to treat you as though your best years are behind you. This is the quiet force of ageism. It often arrives disguised in compliments that sting or concerns that condescend. Even in societies that claim to respect the wisdom of elders, there's often a hidden bias that favors the energy of youth over the value of experience. But here's the truth: your age is not a measure of decline. It's a record of survival, a library of lessons, a quiet badge of battles fought and wisdom earned. So when someone asks your age, pause. You owe them no number. You owe yourself your peace. And speaking of things worth protecting, let's now look at the second piece of personal information you should never reveal. So we've seen how keeping your age private helps protect your identity from being reduced to a number. But the Stoics didn't stop there. There's something else just as powerful and just as personal: your relationship with time itself. Society often glorifies youth as if vitality fades the moment we pass a certain age. But this is an illusion, a shallow perception that ignores the deeper truth. Experience holds far more value than any number on a calendar. Seneca, one of the most profound Stoic thinkers, warned us of a common contradiction. We complain that life is short, yet we live as though it will never end. Isn't that strange? We count our years, chase after time, and yet act as if we have all the time in the world. But life isn't about how many birthdays you've celebrated, it's about how deeply you've lived. The more we fixate on the ticking clock, the more we invite unnecessary anxiety. And that anxiety isn't just ours, it spreads. When others know your age, they may project their own fears onto you. They may assume you're running out of time, even when you feel more alive than ever. That's why keeping your age private is more than a matter of vanity. It's a path to personal freedom. You are no longer confined by societal scripts that say what someone your age should be doing. You write your own story based on your curiosity, your energy, and your unique rhythm. When people don't know your age, they're more likely to judge you by your presence, your wisdom, your ideas, your character, not by how many candles would be on your cake. The Stoics reminded us that death is inevitable, but how we live is entirely up to us. What really counts is not the number of years behind you, but the fire still burning within you. So rather than obsessing over the time that's passed, focus on what still lies ahead. Keep your age to yourself, not because it's a secret, but because it's sacred. Life should be measured not in years, but in moments that matter. And when you start living this way, you reclaim control over your own narrative. Now, let's move to another deeply personal subject, one that silently influences how others see us and how we see ourselves: money. In the last part, we uncovered why your financial life is best kept private. It's not just about money, but about maintaining your freedom and dignity. Now, let's turn inward toward the one place meant to be your refuge, your home. They say money talks, but true wealth whispers. And just as your financial status doesn't need to be broadcast, neither do the complexities of your family life. In today's world, where personal drama is often paraded for entertainment, keeping family matters private is a radical act of wisdom. When people don't know your financial situation, they can't impose expectations. And when they don't know your family's private affairs, they can't pass judgment on something they don't understand. Yet many fall into the trap of sharing too much: conflicts, frustrations, even deeply personal stories, thinking that venting will bring relief. But what often follows is criticism, gossip, or unsolicited opinions from outsiders who were never part of your family's journey. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." In the same way, it's not the family with struggles that is broken, but the one that airs them publicly in search of outside validation. Your family's worth, just like your own, is not defined by perfection, but by its resilience, loyalty, and capacity to grow through challenges. Marcus Aurelius advised us to be tolerant with others and strict with ourselves. Family relationships are complex. They are formed from years of shared history, love, sacrifice, misunderstandings, and reconciliation. Every family has its secrets, its growing pains, its moments of silence, and not all of it needs to be spoken aloud. Why should you keep family secrets to yourself? Because trust, once lost, is incredibly difficult to rebuild. When you invite outsiders into internal conflicts, you risk turning a private challenge into a public drama. Misunderstandings that could have healed quietly become distorted through second-hand opinions, and wounds that were fading might be torn open by careless commentary. Epictetus reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak. This wisdom applies profoundly to family life. Speaking too freely about internal struggles doesn't just damage relationships, it strips loved ones of the dignity they deserve. Protecting your family's privacy doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means respecting the sanctity of your shared bond. It means choosing discretion over display, healing over humiliation. Because some stories are sacred, and their resolution belongs within the walls where they began. Now, as we continue this journey of quiet strength, let's look at the next area of life where silence offers powerful protection: your future plans. In the previous part, we explored why keeping family matters private is a gift of respect, one that shields loved ones from unnecessary judgment and gives space for healing. Now let's turn to something equally intimate, yet often shared too freely. Your health, your body, is your sanctuary. And just as we protect the harmony of our home, we must also learn to protect the dignity of our physical and mental well-being. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And few things challenge that mindset more than health, because health humbles everyone. No matter how disciplined, intelligent, or successful we are, none of us can escape the wear and tear that comes with time. By the time we reach our 50s and beyond, health becomes a central theme in life. Some may face chronic conditions, others rely on daily medications, while many quietly undergo treatments to stay balanced and functional. But here's the truth. Just because health is common to all doesn't mean your personal medical history should be public knowledge. Why is it wise to keep your medications and health details private? Because once you reveal them, people often stop seeing you and start seeing your condition. Their view shifts. Conversations that once revolved around your insights and experiences may slowly revolve around your symptoms, your energy levels, or what you can and cannot do. Even when intentions are kind, the subtle change in tone can feel dehumanizing. You become the one with high blood pressure or the one who's been through surgery. Labels form, often quietly, unintentionally, but they stick. And then comes the unsolicited advice. You mention a diagnosis, and suddenly everyone's a health guru. You'll hear about miracle cures, strict detoxes, or bizarre supplements, often pushed with urgency, but backed by little more than hearsay. While some suggestions come from love, many can overwhelm you. mislead you, or even put your health at risk. The Stoics teach us that we cannot fully control what happens to our bodies, but we can control how we respond. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This is especially true when navigating long-term health issues with grace and resolve. But there's another reason to stay discreet: your peace of mind. Health is not just about the body, it's also about mental and emotional stability. Sharing too much too often can drain you. You may feel exposed, vulnerable, or even pitied. But when you keep your health matters private, you preserve a sacred space within yourself, where healing happens on your terms, not under someone else's spotlight, because in the quiet there is power, and in privacy there is protection. As we continue, let's look at another deeply personal part of life that deserves the same quiet strength: your future plans. In our last reflection, we explored how maintaining privacy around your health isn't about hiding weakness. It's about preserving your peace, your strength, and your dignity. The same wisdom applies to another deeply personal area of life, one that's often misunderstood, sensationalized, or judged: your sexuality. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Nowhere is this more true than in how we view intimacy. Sexuality is not simply about physical connection. It's about trust, vulnerability, emotional depth, and shared presence. It's one of the most sacred and human parts of our experience. And while society often acts as if intimacy fades with age, the truth is quite the opposite. As we grow older, love deepens, connection matures. Intimacy becomes less about thrill and more about meaning. For many people, relationships in later life are built not only on attraction but on shared history, compassion, and an unspoken understanding that comes only with time. It's in these years that love can become more tender, more profound, and more real than ever before. And yet, our culture doesn't often speak of it this way. It either exaggerates intimacy into entertainment or ignores it altogether, especially when it comes to older adults. That's why discretion in this area isn't just wise, it's protective. The Stoics taught us that what is sacred should be guarded, and intimacy, by its nature, is sacred. When the details of your private relationships are shared too openly, they become exposed to the misinterpretations of others. What was once meaningful can be reduced to gossip or careless speculation. People will always bring their own assumptions, biases, and judgments. They might project their own discomfort or mock what they don't understand. And in that noise, something beautiful can be lost. Keeping your romantic life private is not about shame. It's about respect. Respect for yourself, respect for your partner, respect for the space that only the two of you inhabit, Seneca offered. A subtle but powerful reminder: enjoy present pleasures in such a way as not to injure future ones. When it comes to intimacy, this means preserving the bond by protecting it from the outside world. Speaking too freely about personal experiences can weaken the very thing that gives them strength. After all, some connections are meant to be felt, not explained, held close, not handed over. So let your intimacy be quiet, strong, and sacred, sheltered from noise, and alive with meaning. As we move forward, let's turn to another subject that can either empower or expose you, depending on how you share it. Your personal goals and future plans. In our last reflection, we saw how intimacy flourishes best in privacy, shielded from the eyes and voices of the outside world. Some parts of life are sacred, and by guarding them, we protect their beauty and strength. The same principle applies to another deeply meaningful act. Giving, charity, like love, is most powerful when done with quiet intention. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not to be lived by reference to others, but by following the inner light." This inner light, the quiet compass of integrity, guides true generosity. Giving is one of the noblest expressions of virtue. Whether it's time, money, or emotional support, an act of kindness extended to someone in need reflects your highest self. But in today's world, where public recognition is often confused with actual virtue, genuine charity has become more rare and more precious. The Stoics teach us that goodness is its own reward. You give because it is right, not because someone is watching. Why then should acts of charity remain private? Because when we publicize our giving, we risk distorting its essence. The focus shifts from the one in need to the one giving. And slowly, the purity of the act is diluted. What once came from the heart starts to feel like a performance. A donation made in silence, without applause, without announcement, carries a weight that can't be measured. It reflects strength of character, not the desire for praise. It says, "I do this because I believe it matters, not because it earns approval." Seneca, ever wise, warned us that a benefit is rendered worthless by the expectation of gratitude. When we expect recognition for giving, we reduce the gift to a transaction. It becomes a tool for validation, not an offering of compassion. A truly virtuous person gives without keeping score, without needing to be thanked, without holding on to the act as proof of their goodness. To give quietly is to give freely. It is an act of liberation from ego, from expectations, from the desire to be seen. And beyond personal integrity, there's another benefit. When you keep your generosity private, you protect the dignity of those you help. You respect their story. You let the act be about healing, not about headlines. So let your giving be like rain, falling gently, nourishing silently, leaving behind life, not noise. Now, as we continue this path of quiet wisdom, let's explore one more powerful area, where silence often speaks louder than words, your deepest regrets and personal mistakes. In the last section, we explored the silent strength of giving, how true charity uplifts others without drawing attention to itself. But discretion doesn't just preserve the dignity of others. It also protects one of your most valuable assets, your honor. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And nowhere is this more evident than in how we carry our name, our reputation, through life. Honor isn't something you declare. It's something you build slowly through the quiet repetition of principled choices. It doesn't come from grand statements. It comes from living with integrity, from doing what's right even when no one is watching. By the time we reach our 50s, 60s, or beyond, we've likely walked many paths. We may have raised children, mentored others, built careers, and served our communities. And in that journey, we've earned something deeply valuable, the quiet respect of those who know us not for what we say, but for how we live. Yet in today's world, recognition is currency. It's tempting to share our accomplishments, to post reminders of our achievements, to make sure others don't forget what we've done. But the Stoics urge us to pause. True honor does not need applause. It does not crave acknowledgement. The more we chase validation, the more we risk losing the very thing we're trying to protect. Honor, like a flame, glows steadily when left undisturbed, but too much attention, like too much wind, can cause it to flicker or go out. Seneca warned against the need for external approval. It is the mark of an unstable mind to seek admiration from others. If your sense of worth relies on being seen, then it is not truly yours. It is borrowed, dependent on the shifting opinions of others. What happens when their gaze turns elsewhere? The Stoic way is one of quiet confidence. Let your actions speak for you. Let your legacy echo through the lives you've touched, not through the praise you've collected. When you carry yourself with consistency and humility, others will see your worth without needing to be told. And there's another reason to remain reserved. Constantly showcasing your achievements can invite envy, resentment, or even subtle hostility. What was meant to inspire may come across as boastful. What you intended as a celebration might feel to others like comparison. Respect is never demanded. It's offered. It flows naturally toward those who embody virtue without needing to advertise it. So guard your story with intention. Let your character shine through your presence, your choices, and the quiet weight of your actions. In the end, your reputation should be something others whisper about with admiration, not something you need to shout aloud. Now, as we draw this journey to a close, there's one final area where restraint offers profound wisdom, perhaps the most personal of all, your past regrets and mistakes. Previously, we reflected on the quiet dignity of honor, how the most respected individuals don't need to announce their greatness because their actions speak louder than words. In the same spirit, there's one final area where silence reveals true strength. How we handle insults and past wounds. Epictetus once observed, "If someone is able to provoke you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That single insight holds the key to inner freedom. Insults, slights, moments of embarrassment, these are inevitable. No one walks through life without being misunderstood, criticized, or even intentionally hurt. People say cruel things. They make false assumptions. They sometimes lash out, not because of who you are, but because of their own unresolved pain. But here's the question. Will you carry those words like heavy stones on your back, or will you choose to let them fall away? The Stoics understood that clinging to past offenses only magnifies the pain. When we replay cruel comments in our minds, we keep them alive, granting them power long after they were spoken. What could have been a passing moment becomes a lasting scar, not because of what was said, but because of how often we revisit it. Why let someone else's careless words occupy space in your mind? Why allow them to rent out rooms in your peace? True. Resilience is not found in retaliation or in seeking sympathy. It's found in letting go, in refusing to let a moment of disrespect shape your identity or poison your present. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength and nowhere is that more essential than when dealing with emotional wounds. Speaking too often about past hurts, retelling the story, seeking reassurance, can feel comforting in the moment. But each time we do, we reopen the wound. We keep the pain fresh, and though others may offer sympathy, they cannot lift the burden from our shoulders. Only we can choose to put it down. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not about excusing the behavior of others. It's about reclaiming your own power. It's about refusing to be defined by what others have done to you. When you hold your pain too tightly, you tie yourself to those who caused it. But when you choose to release it quietly, without performance, you give yourself the gift of peace. Keeping these experiences private doesn't mean pretending they never happened. It means giving yourself the space to heal without outside, opinions without drama, and without turning pain into a narrative you're forced to carry forever. Because to carry anger is to stay chained to the past. To let go is to walk free. And as you continue forward on your journey, remember this: wisdom isn't just about what you've learned. It's also about what you choose to keep within. Silence is not weakness, it is power. Now, let's take a step back and reflect. What do all these silent strengths have in common? And why are they more relevant now than ever before? Let's bring all the lessons together. Throughout this journey, we've discovered that what you keep to yourself can often be more powerful than what you share with the world. Silence, when guided by wisdom, isn't a void, it's a shield. And the more we protect certain parts of our lives, the more we reclaim control over how we live and how we're perceived. By safeguarding these 8 private aspects, your age, finances, family matters, health, intimate life, charitable acts, personal honors, and emotional wounds, you're not hiding. You're choosing peace over performance, integrity over exposure, and strength over validation. In a noisy world that rewards oversharing, there is something quietly revolutionary about holding your ground and holding your silence. You preserve your dignity, you maintain your autonomy, you protect your peace. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If this message spoke to you, comment 1. If you see it differently, comment 0. Every perspective matters. And if you believe in the quiet power of self-mastery, consider staying connected. There's so much more to explore, so many ways to live with deeper purpose, greater clarity, and unshakable wisdom. Until next time, stay mindful, stay resilient, and always remember, true power doesn't shout. It listens, it observes, it endures, because real strength comes from within.